What up, guys? We're back with another build video, and today we're going to be talking about the nasty MP5, which I think might be the best budget SMG in the game right now. Let's talk about it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Exfil and Hideout. My name is Ghost. If you guys have never been here before, I'm super excited you guys are here. Today we're going to be talking about another budget build, and this gun has been absolutely nutty. I've been using it a lot lately, and I really like it. So I'm excited to share the builds with you guys. We're going to get right into those builds. Keep this short and sweet, but before we do, I want you to know that I do stream on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. PST. I would love to have you by the stream. We usually have an amazing time. One last thing before we get into the video. So I want to kind of preface this video and just say, if you don't like SMGs, this just isn't your video. There's so many times where I post something about SMGs on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube, and there's always a bunch of people who are like, SMGs suck, we hate SMGs, they're terrible. It's just like, if you don't like SMGs, just don't watch the video. I mean, I appreciate you guys watching the video, but if it's not something you want to watch, I'm not trying to force you. I have been absolutely loving SMGs lately. I feel like SMGs are pretty meta right now, honestly. If I'm not killing somebody with an M4 or an HK, a lot of times they have a kitted out MPX, an MP5, or an MP7. So, with that being said, I think that they are very viable, whether you think a 9mm round is viable or not. I know that they are because I drop people very often with a 9mm round. It does cause you to play differently, but that's one of the things that I like is switching it up. Like, using an HK is amazing, using an M4 is amazing. But when you use a different gun like an SMG, especially when you're versing a 9mm round to some of these larger calibers, you have to play the game differently. It's going to cause you to be more accurate. It's going to cause you to play bigger mental games during the fight. Maybe you're taking wider flanks, but it doesn't mean you can't win the fight. There's so many ways to win fights in this game. It's just thinking differently. Like, obviously, I don't go into the fight like I have an HK, or else I'm just going to get mowed down every single time by somebody who has an HK. So with that being said, the 7N31 round we're going to talk about is a ridiculous round that has come out. It's very, very hard to get a hold of, but once you get that stock up and you use it, you're going to see that it's a very viable round. The MP5 is something that has been pretty nasty in a bunch of different games, not just Escape from Tarkov. So I definitely wanted to try it. It has your single fire, your burst mode, and your automatic mode. So we're going to be talking about all that. But before we keep going on, let's just go ahead and get right into the build. Okay, so here we have a couple of MP5 set up, and I'm going to talk about those in a second. I want to explain something about budget builds real quick. Whenever I bring up a budget build, a lot of times people are like, if it's not 50,000 rubles or less, it's not a budget build. That's not necessarily what budget means to me. What budget means to me is you're not using the meta in-slot attachments every single time, and what you're doing is you're finding something that is cheaper than those meta attachments, and it's something that has like comparable value for less. So when I run my budget build, sometimes they could be pricier than maybe your like average budget build. And also, budget build doesn't mean low level. There's many times where as a high level player, you can run something that's more inexpensive because you're on a certain budget, right? So, and I know that when you're more low level, you have access to less attachments, making most of your builds seem like they're budget because you're low level, but it's not really. What it really comes down to is you don't have access to the attachments that you get as you unlock more levels in the game and higher trader levels and other things in the game. So that is pretty much how this budget build is going to go. In my opinion, once we get to the total price, that is a budget build. And I'm also going to show you guys what is optional. We're going to go through like we do usually, where I'm going to go through all the parts that I've added, the parts that it comes with, how to get the weapon. We're going to test it out in the hideout, and I'm going to explain to you what I think is going to be the most valuable thing for you to drop if you absolutely need to. So what is going to be subjective and according to you guys, whatever you want to run, and then what's going to be absolutely necessary for this build. So the build we're obviously going for is the HK MP5, and right here you see that I have the MP5 SD and I have the MP5 regular. And the reason why is because I wanted to fully kit out the regular MP5 first to really make sure that what I'm telling you guys might be the best SMG is the best SMG. Now, What you guys might be thinking is, what about the MPX? That usually comes up in conversation in chat whenever I'm streaming and people ask about why I'm using the MP5 over the MPX. That's probably the most common question. And if you guys have seen my MPX video, which I'll make sure that I link for you guys, this is the MPX build that I run. It's a very, very good build. It's an absolute laser. It comes in at 21 vertical recoil, suppressed, which you can obviously get it down to 17 if you run it unsuppressed. I run suppressed weapons, so it comes in at 21 vertical and 52 ergo. And even though that's an amazing gun and it's a great build, as you guys can see, this is like a full-scale build. This is about the size of my M4s that I run. So in my opinion, when you're coming to something that is a lot smaller, a lot snappier, like the MP5, to have a 50-round drum mag on something like this, it's a different weapon in my opinion. And I think that when I am running this in comparison to that, they're gonna be, you know, neck and neck. This is gonna be at 800 RPM instead of 850 RPM, so there's little differences like that. And I do think in many situations the MPX would outgun this, but I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you've seen my other video, the MPX in price is extremely higher than this build. I don't consider the MPX to be a budget weapon, especially if you wanna make it meta like I did down below and in the video. There's certain MPX builds that you could run for minimal cost, but the stats aren't going to be as good as obviously the meta MPX. Don't worry, I'm going to timestamp everything in the video, so if you guys don't want to hear any of the comparisons between MP5 and MPX and all this other stuff I'm talking about, they'll definitely be down below that you can share with your friends and all of that stuff for just the specific build. So let's get into the MP5. The MP5 SD comes already suppressed and you can buy it from Peacekeeper. Now, the reason why I like this weapon for a couple reasons. One, you can run it budget. Two, it's very minimal for the setup. But three, you could run it low level, which means next wipe, guys, when the next wipe happens, which probably won't be for a couple months in all honesty, you guys are going to be able to quickly get Peacekeeper to level 2, which is only level 10 for you. So you're unlocking the flea market, but you're also unlocking the ability to buy this weapon. You're going to buy this weapon from Peacekeeper for 476 USD, which is about 59, 60,000 rubles. So it is a little bit on the pricey side, but that's going to come at 69 ergonomics and 26 vertical. That's absolutely insane for a gun you're buying without doing nothing to it. Like a stock MP5 SD, to have those numbers is crazy. So the MP5 regular is about 100 and something USD cheaper, but look at all the attachments that I had to add to it. So if you look in comparison, first of all, I'm running a completely different upper, which where this build shines in the SD is the upper. The MP5 SD upper is just a lot better. I had to add a different stock. I had to add a foregrip. I had to add a different suppressor. And so with all of these things combined, I'm basically trying to emulate the SD build. And the stats sure are a little bit better in some ways, but a little bit worse in some ways. So it comes in, the first one, the SD build that we're going to show you guys, is at 63 ergo and 26 vertical recoil. The MP5 kitted out is going to be 69 ergo and 31 vertical recoil. So the vertical recoil is worse, but the ergo is better. I would say it's probably better to have a higher ergo build when you are running SMGs like this, because the vertical recoil is like almost non-existent. Even if it's like at 40 vertical in comparison to a larger gun like the HK or the SA58 or the M4, you're going to notice it in a different way. Most of the time 40 and under feels like a straight laser, and it's really hard to tell the difference between like 40 and like 25-ish on like an MP5 versus like an M4. So with this completely kitted out though, guys, this came to 171,458 rubles. So for this MP5 regular, I almost spent 200,000 rubles, whereas this build right here is going to cost you guys a total of 125,000 rubles. So you're saving like 60,000 rubles, and it ends up, in my opinion, being a better build. With that being said, this is where the build starts. We're going to get from Peacekeeper level 2, at level 10 you will be, the MP5 SD for 476 USD. Now, I want to talk really quickly again about rounds. The round you're going to want to run on this is 7N31, which is the newer 9mm round that came out for this, and it's crazy. It pens 39 and the damage is 52. So it has the same damage as the AP 6.3, but the AP 6.3, if you guys have run it, you know that it has a very hard time even penning, honestly, troopers. Now, even though it shoots very fast, and if you get a lot of thorax shots, you're going to pen the trooper and you're still going to get the dudes. AP 6.3 is something you definitely want to go like all one limb, or you want to shoot him right in the face. So if somebody has a face shield or an Alton, it's going to be, you're going to want to either avoid the fight or have some mental gameplay to win the fight. Whereas a 7 and 31 absolutely shreds troopers. And I've got kills on Killas and Tactics. Now, the Killa has been something that I engaged one dude with a Killa, and I engaged him 2 different times. And it was the 3rd time I killed him that I shot him in the face, actually, to end up killing him. But his Killa was almost zeroed. I think it was like had 17 left out of it health. So I did a lot of damage, but it was definitely like peeking, shooting, running around, peeking, shooting, running around. Like, I was playing games with him because I knew if I was to fight him one-on-one, I would just get smashed. So it does work like that, but you just have to be aware of what people are running when you're engaging people. I don't recommend taking this with 7 and 31 and engaging a 4-man that you see on in Resort or something, but it's very, very viable. All right, so let's go through this build. So this is going to be one of the things that's completely up to you as well. If you want to run the 30-round mags, we're starting with the 50-round mag that you get from the flea market. Now, I recommend if you are going to run the 50-round mags, you really have to pay attention to the flea market. I'm going to say this like I said in other videos. These prices were according to when I bought them at the flea market, but the flea market fluctuates, especially with these drum mags. They go anywhere between like 22,000 rubles to 45,000 rubles. So anytime they're in the 20 to 30,000 mark, I buy a few of them, like 3 to 4 of them, just so I have them, because they're really expensive and I don't want to spend 40K a piece when I actually need them. So just keep that in mind. These ones I bought for 24,000 a piece rubles from the flea market, and they do -2 on the ergo. This is the reason why I say it's completely up to you, because you can get the 30-round magazines for a lot cheaper, but this is how I see it when you run an SMG. If you run an SMG, especially a 9mm SMG, you have to know that you are already in some cases at a disadvantage, which means you're going to need more rounds to do the same amount of damage that a larger caliber round will do. So whereas you can easily run 30-round magazines on a SA58 FAL, you're not going to easily be able to run 30-round magazines on an SMG unless you're very accurate and choosy with your shots, which means no pre-firing, which means the gameplay has to be very precise. So I recommend 50 rounds, or in the MPX, the 41 rounds, because the drum is just lame for the MPX. It messes with your ergo way too much. So the drum on here is only -2. It's not really a big deal. I don't think 24,000 was too expensive to spend on this, especially because you're getting 20 extra rounds. So this is what I run for that. Like I said, that's up to you guys. It's going to come with the MP5 SD upper. It's going to come with all of this stuff already. What you're going to buy next is the sight. Now, you guys already know I really like the EOTech and I really like the PK06. So I went ahead and went with that sight for the EOTech, but what we're going to put it on is going to be the MFI HK low profile scope mount. This is what you're going to put on the gun. Now, there is another version that's a little bit bigger where you have to take off the rear sight, but it messes with your ergo. This does nothing to your ergo, and it runs the same exact sights, and you get to keep your rear sight on. So I would definitely choose this over it. You're going to be able to get this low profile mount for 69 USD from Peacekeeper level 2. So that's the other cool thing about these parts, is you're buying them at Peacekeeper level 2 along with the weapon. So you don't have to wait for like these parts at Peacekeeper level 3 or 4. You get to just go ahead and kit this out as you get it. The next thing we're going to get is the ring mount, which is the B&T MP5 SD ring mount. This is so that you can put a light or a laser, which I recommend you guys put on all your builds. It tightens the spread in a way that is not just meta, but it's almost necessary if you hip fire. And if you don't hip fire, you should be hip firing at certain distances. The ring mount is going to be 39 USD, so it's very, very cheap from Peacekeeper level 2, and it's going to take away 1 ergo. So the next one we're gonna go over is the Surefire X400 flashlight. It's one of my favorite flashlights and one of the best flashlights in the game when it comes to area, spread, and brightness. So this is the one I'm choosing, and it's only -1 on the ergonomics, and that is going to be 84 USD from Peacekeeper level 2. And then we're gonna run what I already talked about, which is the EOTech sight, and that is gonna be -2 on the ergonomics. And that's going to be 80 USD from, or I'm sorry, it's gonna be 180 USD from Peacekeeper level 2. If you guys are wondering why I'm putting all these here, I can't really stand when I see builds online and they're inaccurate when I start putting my stuff on it, because they want to put them bare bones to make the numbers look better, to make the builds look better. So they make a build and there's no magazine, there's no sight, there's no light, there's no laser, no anything. It's just as bare bones as possible to make the numbers higher. But the thing is they don't run it like that. So it's inaccurate, because then we make that build and the numbers aren't the same. So this is exactly how I would run it. That way you guys know when you run it like this, these are the actual numbers. So you guys can change this up if you want. A lot of people will ask about the EKP. It's not worth it. The percentage is way too low to even matter. I don't even think it'll change the vertical recoil. I think it'll still be at 26 if you run an EKP. The only thing you're gonna be messing with is the ergonomics, which is -6 instead of -2 with this sight. So we are gonna take this into the hideout in a second, but guys, this is the build. It's gonna end at 63 ergonomics and 26 vertical recoil. And what I'm about to show you is absolutely incredible. Let's go to the hideout. So we have the burst fire, and then we have the full auto. Let's do the ergo first. Look at this thing. Like, I'm literally like barely touch my mouse, it already wants to move forward. So we're gonna start at the bottom, just so you could see the spread and the vertical recoil. Not using any recoil control on my mouse, we're gonna start. So this is not moving my mouse at all, literally just pressing mouse 1. Look at that. Can you guys see that? How tight that spread is without even touching recoil control? Just imagine adding that. So we're gonna go again, let's go out and in. Sometimes this resets really weird. And we're gonna start again. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing right now? Do you see this straight laser for all 3 heads? You guys aren't seeing this. Let me show you one more time. So it looks like there's more muzzle flash than there actually is when it's on this white target, just because of the lighting. But do you guys see this? 50 rounds in this tight of a grouping? That is insane. This is the MP5 build you guys have been looking for. So let's do the other thing. Let's go hip fire real quick. Oops. I literally do that every time. Look at that. It's a little bit harder to see because of the flashlight. If I had a laser, I should have used a laser, honestly, but you could hear it. That is the MP5 SD. Before I give you the final numbers, I wanted to talk about one other thing. Is I actually put this in a combat simulation against an M4 with the same armor and the same helmet, and ran this simulation a bunch of times with 5.5A1 versus the MP5 SD that I'm showing you with 7 and 31. And this gun won more often, guys. I'm gonna show you the chart right here. That way you guys can see that this gun is viable. It won against an M4 with 5.5A1. How many of you run M4s with 5.5A1? I do, but you wouldn't think that this gun would be comparable when you're running them identical for the PMCs, both running Troopers and both running TC800s. It's absolutely crazy. So guys, that literally wraps up the build. Very easy to comprehend, very fun to use. That is gonna put us at 63 ergonomics and 26 vertical recoil. And that is gonna run 125,000 rubles. Now what I did is actually 24,000 rubles and then 848 USD, but I converted the USD for you guys so you would know around like a ruble range, because sometimes I'll say like the USD and then you guys are like, well, I have no idea how much that is. Is that expensive? Is that not? So with the conversion, being about 100,000. It ends up being 125,000 rubles. A great gun for almost any situation that you can think of. I've used this in close to mid-range on many different maps. Obviously, I would not be putting like a hammer on this and trying to get like long range snipes with it, but I mean, it's probably possible. I haven't tried it, but I wouldn't like, this isn't my go-to for that. If you guys run this gun, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Also, if you guys want to see any different builds that are in your heads, let me know down in the comments. We've already made a few builds that you guys have recommended, and I love doing it. Everything you guys talk about down in the comments, I will be responding to, and if you see something that I could have did different, or a build that you have that's similar and different, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. Thank you guys so much for coming out and watching another gun guide. I hope it really helps you out. If this video brought you guys value, make sure you smash that like button so more people on YouTube can see the content. I would super appreciate it. And if you guys want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel, and you can always hit the bell if you want to be notified when every video goes live. Hope to see you guys around the stream sometime at twitch.tv/xvlnghost. I am live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. PST. Whether you guys want to chill out after work, run some raids, or talk about this stuff live, either way, we usually have an amazing time. I hope you guys are very blessed. I hope you have an amazing day or night, depending on where you're at in the world. I hope this build is something you get addicted to. I hope your raids are plentiful, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Let me know if that door opens, Ken. I'm running around. Okay, going around. Both down.